What's the Maccabee Nation newsletter all about? Since October 7th, 2023, many Jews around the world have felt like we're trapped in a bad episode of the Twilight Zone. In fact, 75% of us feel less safe now than before the attack. The Jew hatred began almost immediately, even before Israel counterattacked Hamas after their particularly barbaric attack against predominantly civilians, what we used to call terrorism. We've all seen, and many of us have unfortunately experienced anti-Semitism. But seeing the blood libels and propaganda re-emerge globally on the scale we're seeing today does feel reminiscent of the run-up to the Holocaust. It feels pretty shitty, especially if you have kids, to wonder what the world will be like as this younger and easily manipulatable generation begins to take power throughout the Western world. Although the world seems to love us when we're being slaughtered, nations are also quick to line up against us when we protect ourselves and our right to self-determination. The good news is, today, we are not victims, despite the fact that 1 out of every 4 HR managers readily admits to discriminating against Jews. For the first time in our history, we have our own nation with our own army, the nation of Israel. As the only Jewish state on earth, we are uniquely held to an impossible standard that no other country must adhere to. While the hypocrisy can be enraging, at least we now have our nation in our ancestral homeland where we can forge our own destiny. Today, in Israel, Jews have the greatest opportunity to persevere and flourish since ancient times. If you agree with that sentiment, you're in the right place. That's what Maccabee Nation is all about. As Golda Meir, the first female Prime Minister of Israel, reminds us, we cannot erase the past merely because it does not fit the present. The world wants to erase our past so they can erase our future. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking there are only 15 million people, 0.2% of the world population. How can we fight back? Another way to look at it is, wow, there are 15 million of us. Imagine what we can accomplish if we were united and motivated to achieve common goals. So what are some of the goals of the Maccabee Nation? 1. Create stronger bridges between pro-Israel Jewish communities and our allies around the world so we can better support each other. Yes, there is a lot we disagree on, but we need to work through our differences so we can unite against bigger threats. The most heinous protests, like the ones going on now on elite university campuses, should be met with strong counter-protests. We cannot abandon young Jewish students simply because we are busy with work. I've recently seen groups of Jewish students fight back by blowing shofars to drone out the genocidal chants of the pro-Hamas students. What if all of us came out to remind our young Jewish brothers and sisters that they are not alone? We are stronger together. 2. To prepare Jews, especially in the diaspora, for potentially violent conflict so they can keep themselves and their families safe. This includes education about gun safety, security at community events, and escape planning in the event our home countries become unsafe. It may seem far-fetched now, but many of our ancestors likely thought the same, and history has a way of repeating itself. It is better to have a plan and not need it, than need it, and not have it. 3. Articulate a clear vision for a thriving Zionist future that equally inspires Israelis, diaspora Jews, our allies, and even our enemies. Let's be honest. We are not good at articulating our long-term vision. Past Zionist leaders had a plan for the future that they communicated clearly, which is what enabled them to achieve it. Now that we are approaching our first century of Israel as a modern nation-state, we need to plan ambitious goals for the next 100 years. If we don't have a clear mission to work toward, we will never reach our immense potential. There is room in this tent for everyone who cares about Israel to feel at home, building Maccabee Nation into a thriving community. Together, I believe we can turn our vision of a prosperous and safe future for our people into a reality. Let's go.